how did you find out about this sanctuary declaration, and what, if anything, has been communicated to the county?
I found out this afternoon that there had been a post of some kind on DHS. Nothing has been formally communicated to the county that I'm aware of. I have a lot of questions of what qualifies us as a sanctuary county. I'm not sure there's any actual legislation that we've passed of any kind. I don't know what the criteria they're using for what they're considering a sanctuary county is. So, yeah, I've got a lot of questions.
Is Dauphin County cooperating? I think one of the criteria that they list on the website had to do with cooperating with ICE or cooperating with the federal government on this type of issue. Is your understanding that Dauphin County is or is not doing that, or from your standpoint, what's your understanding?
My understanding is that Dauphin County follows the law and will continue to do that.
What was your reaction when you saw that list today?
I got more questions than answers. That was probably my response. It was a pretty short read. Usually when there's something substantive, it's quite a longer read. I mean, and also, I don't even know what I'm supposed to do with it, because the end of it, and I'll read it verbatim, no one should act on this information without conducting their own evaluation of the information. That sounds to me like you're saying, don't do anything, but also do something. And it also, let's just be honest, this administration hasn't been great with gathering and communicating information in a factual way. And so I have a tough time believing there's any there on some of this, but I'll await what their formal communication is, which maybe will have details that weren't publicly shared, and I can review that and see what we need to adjust.
Are you concerned that there could be some kind of string attached to this as far as funding or something coming down the line? I know they didn't communicate that just yet, but to kind of say, hey, we need you to do something, we need you to change your policies, which is what it says, I believe, in that you have to get your policies to conform with them. Are you worried that they're going to kind of hold some kind of funding over you for county services?
Yeah, look, I'm not going to speak in hypotheticals of what this administration might do. Certainly we've seen some of what you're expressing happen, but I'm not going to speak in hypotheticals to what they might do. I will say I took an oath to the Constitution, not the federal government. And so the Constitution, due process is part of that. And I'll continue to say we, as a county, should be ensuring individuals get due process with whatever their charges are.
I want to go back to something you had said before. Those questions that you're having, we're all also having.
Yeah.
We asked, what that meant for them to say even, note that the list can be reviewed and changed at any time and will be updated regularly. We asked them, how did the DHS verify that these jurisdictions are sanctuary jurisdictions? What is kind of your reaction to that? And also, let me add, they didn't really answer that. They got back to us, but they gave us the same statement that is on the website. Mm-hmm. What is your reaction to their response? And also, what do you think maybe could be changed, maybe, that would help get to the point where you're no longer on that list?
I'm not even confident it's a negative to be on the list, because I don't even know what the list represents or the criteria in which the list. It might be reasonable that we're on the list. So the challenge for me is the assumption that we don't want to be on the list. I want to know what the list means. If the list means that we're willing to protect people's due process, then I'd prefer us stay on the list. So I guess these are the questions that I think a lot of us still have. I think what you're referencing in your discussions with the federal government is that they are rolling something out before gathering all the information. They literally say that in the last sentence, which, I haven't been in government long, only been here a year and a half, but I tend to try to gather all the information at the onset before rolling something out.
Do you think that your comments and advocacy for the Bhutanese immigrant or refugees has anything to do with this?
Look, if in the event that my comments are what led to our county being placed on there, that's really disappointing. I think the only thing I've emphasized from day one is that everybody deserves due process, in the particular comments you're referencing, we're talking about refugees, people who were vetted and brought over here on refugee status. I'll just remind everybody, these are not illegal immigrants that I was advocating for when advocating for the Bhutanese Nepali community. These are individuals who came here legally, who some of which committed crimes here and went through our process and judicial process, and ultimately served the time for the crime that they served, and had re-entered society, many of them, and had gone long periods of time without offense. But yet they were deported to a country that previously ethnically cleansed them. If advocating for those individuals put us on this list, that's pretty shameful.
Has Dauphin County received anything from the feds about its status as a sanctuary county?
To my knowledge, no, we haven't received anything from the federal government yet, although I want to emphasize that I found out about this less than 2 hours ago and have not had a chance, given it being Friday with people in meetings, to check with everyone to ensure we haven't received something. But I would be notified of something like that pretty quickly.
Do you expect a response, and then what would happen from there?
Do I expect a response from the federal government? They did say in the post that they are going to formally communicate in some way. So I guess I expect that formal communication. I don't know when I expect that formal communication. It doesn't seem like this is being rolled out in any kind of organized way. So I look forward to reviewing their formal communication if it ever comes.
Now, have you heard from those who were deported or from the Bhutanese community here? Have they heard recently from those who have been deported, and how are they doing?
The last I heard, we had one individual that we were monitoring pretty closely who had been arrested, and they were they were released, and they were given the ability to go back to the refugee camp. So that was the last I had heard, that there was communication and that there was some decision making. But we are monitoring. We're in communication with the leadership of the Bhutanese Nepali community here in Harrisburg.
Has anyone been taken recently that you know of?
Define recently.
I'd say probably within the past couple weeks or so.
Within the past couple weeks, no. I believe we had heard of somebody maybe last month sometime.
Okay.
But not necessarily deported, detained. So it might be deported, might not. It's unknown.
Do you feel like you're being this is an attempt to intimidate the county?
I still want to emphasize, I don't want to say it's an attempt to intimidate the county because I don't know what it is.
Right.
And I don't think they do a good job communicating what this is or what this means. And even they emphasize the information shouldn't be acted upon. So if you're trying to intimidate somebody into acting a certain way, you usually don't tell them not to act on the information. You're like it's kind of a weird juxtaposition for us to be in, to tell us not to act on the information, but then to try to be intimidating us. So I don't want to infer that they're trying to intimidate us. I will say this, it's pretty clear this administration has utilized those tactics in a lot of different areas. I hope they won't utilize those for municipalities that we're supposed to collaborate with. I mean, certainly I can maybe understand when we're talking about foreign governments and tariffs and the need for, strong arming and negotiating positions. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can understand that. I can maybe even, understand it in other cases, but we work together in a lot of ways, and I hope that we can continue to work together.